Right. I'll watch the time and get through this pretty soon. So, what I ask very quickly is, has anybody here heard of Springbrook? Not heard of Springbrook? Okay. See some that have. I'm going to be doing a presentation specifically on our residential programs that are tailored for consumers on the autism spectrum today. I just right click.
Just adding here, yeah.
So our goals, we'll start off with our goals, is to build a strong foundation for long-term health for consumers on the autism spectrum through the reinforcement of therapies based on evidence and positive behavioral therapy. Anywhere on there? Okay, yeah, there it goes. We've actually been in business for about 30 years. We're actually privately owned by a disabled veteran, and initially when we first started I think it's about 34 years ago, we actually specialized in treating PTSD. As we're owned by a disabled veteran, as you guys can imagine, we have a contract for adults as well, to where we actually have a contract with the VA and see a lot of their patients that have PTSD and kind of treat them from a crisis perspective. Since our time in existence, we've actually been able to expand our services. About 25 years ago, we expanded into child and adolescent on the residential piece. And about 4.5 years ago, we actually started creating programs designed specifically to treat kids on the autism spectrum. Let's see here. There we go. We like to think of our services as being anchor services, essentially meaning that we're giving a lot of credence to these consumers that we're treating on the autism spectrum, giving them some of these core skills that they're going to need when they leave us. When we have these children and adolescents that come to us, we're not one of those magic buttons you can just hit and all the issues and problems are going away. We give them the skills to be able to cope and to deal with some of the anxieties that they have. But we use multiple different things. We promote learning, we increase functional skills, we try to minimize stimulation, we promote learning, and we decrease destructive behaviors. A lot of people ask, in a nutshell, what are our programs? Well, what our programs are is essentially they are child and adolescent residential programs, meaning psychiatric residential treatment. These are kids that come to us and they are going to be with us for a significant amount of time, typically between about 4 and 12 months. Depending on the age, depending on the cognitive functionality, typically dictates how long a child is going to be with us. Naturally, the younger a patient is, or the lower the cognitive functionality is, the patient is typically with us a little bit longer than what they would see if we have a 17-year-old, who is a little bit higher functioning as far as their skills. I'm also very specific to state that we're not designed to treat autism. What we're designed to do is to treat the behaviors and psychiatric issues related to autism. But we also understand that as we're treating this population, they have several integrated healthcare needs that need to be met while they're with us. So they do get a very robust treatment plan whenever they're with us, because we understand, just like if someone has diabetes, if somebody comes into us, they have diabetes, well, the fact that they have diabetes is not the reason they're there. The behaviors are the reasons why they're there. But we also understand that they have other needs that need to be met that can't go left unchecked. So that is one of the reasons why our programs are as robust as they are. And when I say as robust, these programs are a lot more encompassing than any program that you guys not only will see in the state, but that you'll see in the Southeast. So what can families expect when they come in to see us? Essentially, they get weekly family group therapy sessions. Some of our kids are coming from a long way away, so sometimes we'll have to Skype. But we do actually like for the parents to kind of be involved physically as much as they possibly can. So we do require at least one of those sessions is an in-person session that they come to. As far as treatment teams, the patient's progress, goals, and difficulties are discussed each week with treatment teams. And then again, we actually have one session that is a lot more developed at the end of the month, where we not only have the consumer that's going through that, but we have the consumer, the psychiatrist, the therapist. If they have an agency that's involved, we have them involved, and the parents are involved in that session as well. Every kid that comes to us, we also have individualized behavioral plans. These are actually developed by a PhD psychologist or MD who's also a psychiatrist, and then speech and occupational therapists as well as their behavioral therapists. As far as ages that we serve, we do see a population that's ages 5 to 21 for these residential programs. Both genders, male and female. We also accept consumers at all developmental and functional levels, so this could include those who are nonverbal and also those who need assistance with just your normal daily activities. We can accept some consumers who are not potty trained yet. They do have to be able to respond to prompting because again, we have to have that cognitive ability there to where our treatment plans are going to show some sort of positive interaction. Specialized programming. As you guys can see, this is the first slide. We have a lot of specialized programming that goes into it. Applied Behavioral Analysis, ABA, we're providing there. We actually have 2 in-house board-certified BCBAs that are with us. And actually, even our lower level, line level people, all of them are RBTs, registered behavioral technicians. What we see is when the kids come into us, a lot of these kids have already been receiving ABA, and we get asked the question all the time, well, if you guys are doing ABA and they've been receiving ABA, why does it not work? Well, our approach is a little bit different because it is multidisciplinary. We're not just looking at the ABA piece, that's just one of the functions of what we're doing. So when the kids come into us, essentially we try to not correct the behavior that they're doing, but we're trying to figure out what is driving the behavior in the first place, and then that allows us to be able to correct that a little bit better. As far as the psychiatry piece, anybody probably in Greenville that's familiar with autism probably knows Dr. Fisher. He is a fellowship-trained psychiatrist, specializes in early childhood development, child and adolescent psychiatry, and also treating consumers on the autism spectrum. He is our medical guru, and he also sees patients on the outpatient side for autism as well. As far as therapy groups, we actually run multiple therapy groups each day. These are to help with self-regulation, positive communication, social skills, self-image, and coping skills. We do work on a reward system. We don't punish bad behavior, but we do reward good behavior, and this can be anything from pizza parties, ice cream. We do a lot of positive things to try to promote positive behaviors. As far as sensory integration, we do a lot with sensory integration. We have biofeedback, interactive metronome, integrated listening programs, and other treatment modalities that we use for sensory integration. Visual schedule is actually huge for our population. All of their schedules, as far as what our consumers are going to be doing each day, are posted visually. So our consumers know what class is going to be when, what therapy they're going to be going to and when as well. And specifically with some of our kids on the autism spectrum, they're very, very particular that we follow that schedule. If they're doing math, and math is supposed to end at 10, and social studies is supposed to start at 10:01. If we get at 10:01, they let us know that we're off schedule, so we have to go through and correct that. Other specialized programming. Again, I mentioned we do individual behavioral plans. These are for social, functional, personal, and behavioral goals. These are done every week. We employ speech and occupational therapy as well. Recreation therapy, we have an indoor pool at Springbrook, so they can actually do indoor aquatics all year long. We have an indoor basketball goal, or basketball courts, and we also do recreation therapy programs designed to address deficits common in the autism spectrums. As far as extracurricular activities, there's a multitude of things that we do there. I'll get into a little bit of those going forward. Decreasing anxiety is one of the biggest things that we do. What we see with the autism population is roughly about 80% of the behaviors that we see, the severe behaviors, are typically stemming from anxiety. So we really work on the anxiety piece and trying to reduce those. When we have a new patient that comes in, we describe the outings, the appointments, unique events. Everything is actually introduced to them from a visual perspective. We let them know what to expect before it happens to try to decrease those anxieties when they do. Our staffing ratios are extremely favorable. If you look at other residential programs, not only in the state but also in the southeast, our staffing ratios at the lowest are 3 to 1, and we go up to 1 to 1. Some of our clientele, they do actually require 1 to 1 therapy. So from that perspective, these programs are a little bit more expensive for us to run than what your traditional residential programs are. Then with the specialization, that kind of builds into it as well. But we definitely see a lot of positives, with having 2 to 1 and 1 to 1, specifically for that. The lower cognitive functionality of some of our consumers. The Onsite Academy, I think a lot of you guys may be familiar with them. They presented here as well. They actually provide the direction and accreditation for our classroom teaching. We do actually have a PhD a teacher who's our director of education. So the kids essentially, they get full year school. Where I mentioned that they like to see a lot of structure. That's the reason why we make sure that they're receiving structure throughout the entire year. The curriculum is based, it's more of an individualized homeschool curriculum that we do because a lot of our consumers are at multiple different levels. So we want to make sure that we're allowing our consumers to pretty much meet what their education level would be. Other programs and activities. One of the favorite therapy programs we have is actually our therapy dogs. Vested Partners. We're actually in cooperation with them. We actually train their therapy dogs, and actually they were so gracious to actually give us one of our therapy dogs, Jessie. Very gentle English lab. Walks around, and she really helps out with kids who have anxiety attacks, panic attacks, meltdowns. A lot of times, she's a very calming influence, and as we were discussing before the meeting, the dog can actually start to see when some of the kids are starting to escalate. We'll actually go over there, and a lot of times you'll actually see some of the kids start to stroke and pet the dog and actually kind of calm down before they get to that level where they have a full meltdown. Our garden, during the growing season, our kids really enjoy getting out there and working in the garden. We also have field trips, educational and fun. Educational, we go to the Roker Mountain Science Center, the Children's Museum here locally. For fun, we have the Apple Orchard, water parks we go to. Again, it depends on how ready they are to go to some of these events. Naturally, some of our kids who have a very heightened anxiety, we might not be taking out to a water park initially when they come there. Some of our kids may be okay to go to one of those places. As I mentioned from the reward system, we have pizza and ice cream parties. We also have seasonal parties called, one of them is Summer Slam. So with the first of the summer, we actually have these big blow-ups and actually make it kind of like a carnival festival out there. We own 13 acres, so it kind of allows us to have our little mini fair out there specifically for not only our consumers, but we want their families to come and kind of experience the entire thing as well. Forms of payment. We accept Medicaid from multiple states. You can see South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, Virginia, Tennessee. We also do single case agreements with a lot of states that we actually don't have contracts with right now. It sounds like a lot of states, but our programs are actually not only South Carolina programs. We started branching out to regional, and we're actually now becoming a truly countrywide program where we're getting kids referred to us from Alaska, California, Arizona, as well as up in New York, North Dakota, Illinois. We're having kids come to us from all over the country. We're actually in network with all 3 TRICARES nationally. We're one of only 6 hospitals in the entire country that we know of that's actually in network with all 3 TRICARES. And that is because of the autism specialization. As far as commercial insurance, we're actually contracted with most of the commercial insurers out there, not every single one. And then again, we can do single case agreements with some of the insurance companies and also some of the Medicaids that we're not currently in contract or in contact with. As far as our experts, this is Dr. Matt Fisher. Many of you guys may know him or know of him. He's our psychiatrist that specializes in treating autism. Then we have Dr. Killian. He's a PhD, BCBA. He's actually written multiple books. I think he's been published now in, I think, 83 countries and 14 different languages. He actually created what's called the FISH, the Functional Independent Skills Handbook, which we actually hand out to every one of our consumers that come to us. But essentially, this is a book of tasks that are broken down into multiple tasks. What we try to do is we try to figure out where the deficits or deficiencies are coming when some of our consumers are trying to figure out how to do this or how to do that. It can be anything from tying your shoe to brushing your teeth. So when we break it down, each individual task into several tasks, we can kind of see where the issue's coming from and kind of work on that and then build it back together. I think it's 2 clicks is the magic up here. Sarah Keeney, I think some of you guys may know her. I believe she was at Clarity. She's actually our speech and language pathologist. She is phenomenal. We love her, so we've definitely enjoyed our time with her. And then Jeffrey Cohn is our occupational therapist. He has 12 years experience, specifically in California before he came here, working with developmental disabilities. Again, just a kind of a summary of our evidence-based practices. We're doing the principles of ABA, which those are monitored constantly through the day. Psychiatry, bed management, we do testing. So if we have a kid that comes in and they need specific testing, CARS, ADOS, whatever, we can actually go through that process and provide testing for them. Group therapy, individual therapy, family therapy, again we do the speech and occupational therapy. We have, again, weekly treatment team meetings. We use social skills and social stories with a lot of our consumers. Biofeedback, metronome. We do a lot with visual cueing as well. And naturally, the special education component is built in and geared towards the autism population. If you guys need to make a referral to us, you can contact us directly at 864-660-6220, or you can fax us at 660-6009. Now for South Carolina, it is a little bit different. I will tell you guys from the Medicaid perspective that there is actually, instead of just going through the typical process of getting into residential, we do have to go through the EPSDT process, the DHHS. Essentially in 2014, CMS was actually required to start providing services for those on the autism spectrum. Unfortunately, it's still not been built into the state health care plan, so the EPSDT process is actually the new interim process for to access autism services in South Carolina. I'd like to point that out because that's not only for residential, that's also for inpatient, that's for outpatient, it's also for in-home therapy. So if you guys just go to Google South Carolina DHHS and then type in EPSDT program, then it'll actually pull up. But essentially anybody that's going to be needing to access services for autism through Medicaid, they pretty much need to go ahead and start that process as soon as they can. And then lastly, I wanted to mention that we're actually going to be presenting an autism conference here in Greenville. All of our speakers, or all of our professionals are going to be there, as well as other professionals. There are some nationally accredited speakers are going to be there as well. So it's going to be at the Kroc Center, which is right here in Greenville, a couple of blocks away actually, February the 9th and 10th. If anybody would like to learn more about it, you've got my card, just shoot me an email and I can give you guys a little bit more information. Any questions? Yes?
Are you currently running on a wait list?
Yes and no. We always have a wait list. Our waiting list right now is around 42 kids, but that depends on the age. It depends on which program they're going to go into as well. So in some cases, we might be able to get a kid in immediately. In some cases, they might be 7, 8, 9. So, age, the sex of them as well, that just kind of depends. Any other questions?
I just have a comment.
Yes.
Very well presented.
Oh, well, thank you. This is actually the first time I've done this PowerPoint presentation, so I think I fumbled a little bit more than I would have liked to, and it might have been the coffee, but I appreciate the comments. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Let's give him a big hand.